Alright, so, yesterday, as some of you people know, I went to an event called Yes Quest. It was their first event where they wanted not only casual gamers or competitive gamers in whatever regard, but they also wanted speedrunners to show up. Um, they had people go and submit games, times, yada yada, um, for a spot in their marathon, and they only had 8 hours to go and give runners. A couple of them backed out last minute, which is why they had asked me to do the second run, which would have been all bosses, but I wasn't able to do that because we ran out of time because of technical difficulties. So, technical difficulties. What happened is after I got there at like 10:30, 11 a.m. It was super early. They had opened the doors like half an hour, 40 minutes prior, right? I was there pretty much on time. I get to the registration desk and I'm like, hey, I'm here to participate. My name's TJ, right? I should be on there. They go through the list 3 times. I'm not on the list. I've had extensive contact with the event chair the entire time. Like, over the course of a month, I've sent emails back and forth with him, and I'm not on the list. So they're just like, okay, well, since you're not on the list, we'll just write you in here and we'll give you a badge, and this spot's open so you can set up here. Is that okay? And I just look at her and I'm just like, I'm gonna be on the stage at some point. I don't care where I practice. Just point me to wherever I need to go. That's perfectly fine. And she just looks at me and she's just kind of like, okay, whatever, just go. So she points me over to where I'm supposed to set up, and it's right in the back corner where absolutely nobody can see what I'm doing. So be it. I don't need people to see me practice, that's fine. So I go and set up, and after I've set up, about half an hour of practice into the marathon, one of the guys that I've been talking to comes over to me. His name's Doug. He introduces himself, and after watching me for a little bit, he asks if he can bring one of the youth over, like one of the children that are in the program. And I'm like, yeah, that's perfectly fine. Bring him over if you think he's interested, right? So he brings this kid over. He introduces himself, I introduce myself. We talk for a little bit, and he sits here. He's super interested in Diddy Kong Racing, right? So he's just loving watching me practice. He talks to me a bunch about how he's been messing with item sliding in Wind Waker HD, I think he said. So that was cool. Like, he's well informed on some stuff. So that was neat. I didn't think I'd get to talk about that sort of stuff with people near me. I think he was like 13. So I don't know how old you are, but something like that. Anyways, after a while, his friend comes over and he's like, yo, Smite is set up whenever you're ready. So I say goodbye to the kid. He goes off and plays with his friends. Right, that's fine. So I get back to practicing. Another 40 minutes, I think, goes by, and Eddie, the event chair, comes over. And he introduces himself, and he's like, are you TJ? And I'm like, yeah, how'd you know? And he's like, well, I figured you'd be playing Diddy Kong Racing. Nobody else here is. Well, pretty obvious answer, I think, right? Pretty fair answer as well. So Eddie's really nice. Like, he is the guy that I went to talk to every single time that something came up, because he was just like always there, always trying to help me out, right? He wanted to make sure that I was comfortable and I was ready to do whatever had to be done, which was perfect. That's what I want from an event, right? So I had great hopes for this right off the bat. Loved Eddie, loved Doug, loved the kid that Doug brought over. They were all great. It's about 1 o'clock at this time for me, 1 o'clock p.m. I have 2 hours until my run, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just grinding Jungle Falls, I believe it was, and I'm having this, like, slight panic attack because I'm freaked out. I get really, really nervous about practicing, or not practicing, but performing in front of people. which is strange because I spent 3 years as a vocalist in my high school's rock band, and we used to play at like hockey games and all that other stuff, so I should be used to it, but I still get terribly nervous every time. You'll see, Outlaw, you'll see. So anyways, yeah, I can sing. I don't say a lot of this stuff, like, not many people know this shit about me. But no, I'm not singing over my stream. It doesn't sound right. My voice sounds different in person than it does over the mic, and I don't like how it sounds over the mic. Plus, I'm also in an apartment that's supposed to be a quiet building, so if I were to do any singing here, I would be breaking the code of the apartment, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to get kicked out. Sorry. Anywho, going back on. I was having this, like, slight panic attack, right? So I get up, and I'm about to go to the bathroom to just, like, splash some water on my face, try and calm down, and then I'm like, hang on. If I go, I'm leaving all my stuff here unprotected. So I move all my stuff to, like, the center of this table, and I stand there and I take, like, 7 pictures with my phone, just making sure that I have everything in the picture, right? Because I don't want anything to be taken. And then I go off, right? Feel a little bit better after splashing some water on my face, get a drink of water while I'm at it. Come back, everything's perfectly fine. I was freaking out about nothing there, right? No, all the people there were basically nerds, geeks, whatever you want to call them. Nobody's gonna pick up my stuff and run away with it. They look like people who don't know how to use anything that isn't HDMI. So I was perfectly fine. More on that later. So I get back, nobody bothers me until it's roughly 3 o'clock. At 3 o'clock is when my run was scheduled to happen. This was Diddy Kong Racing 100%, okay? This was the first run that I was supposed to be doing for the marathon. So right before that time, a news reporter comes over and she's like, hey, can I interview you? The event chair told me who you are and blah blah blah. I'm like, oh, that's, I wasn't ready for this, but okay, sure, let's go. I stumble over my words for a little bit, but I pull it together, and she asks me the penultimate question. What is a speedrun? I had to sit there for a few seconds and think about that, because that's not something that I try to explain to people, right? It's just like, what is a speedrun? Oh, I'm just playing through a game. That's not an explanation. So I had to come up with something quick. And I think I gave a pretty good answer overall. I think I told her it is the completion of a game as fast as humanly possible without using any sort of external influences on the game, such as code injection, hacks of any sort, things like that. Which I think is pretty fair, right? You could argue that, oh, well, you forgot to mention that it has to be within a certain set of rules set by a community. I don't care. But I gave what I thought was a good answer, and it's just gonna have to do. I don't know if it'll be on the news somewhere, and if it is, and I hear my voice, I'm going to be ridiculously embarrassed because I'm talking about something that sounds retarded to the regular person. Moving on, though. After I'm done with the news reporter, Eddie comes over and he's like, all right, it's time. Are you ready? And I say, well, good enough. I'm ready enough, I suppose. I can't be more ready than I already am, right? So I go up there and we go to set up on the TV. And the tech guy comes over and he's like, okay, can you hand me the HDMI cable? I look at him. Huh? And he's like, well, our entire setup is on HDMI. If you're not aware, I'm using a Nintendo 64. That doesn't have HDMI capability unless you mod it. So we check the back of the TV, okay? Now, most TVs, most TVs will accept RCA, RGB, HDMI, unless you get some of the newer models which don't have access to RCA, and in some cases RGB. So we go and look at the back of the TV. It does not accept RCA at all. So we're just like, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix this? So what we do is we talk to a guy, I think his name was Carl. And it's just like, we go to Carl and we're like, hey, do you have a RCA to HDMI converter? And he's like, I'll check my bag. So he does find one, okay? Meanwhile, I'm just like, you know, this is never gonna work. I don't say it out loud, I'm just thinking it. Because every single time you do a conversion, something specific happens. You either know what I mean, or if you don't, you'll figure it out in a few minutes here. So, he brings over the converter, we get everything set up, right? So, we have the Nintendo 64, the composite cables from that, hooked up to this converter, and the converter has an extended HDMI that plugs into the TV, I believe. Plug it in. Boot everything up. We get sound, we get color, everything's perfect, but it looks super pixelated because it's stretched out over this like 40-some inch TV, maybe larger. Plus, it's not supposed to be converted, right? So I go up there and I'm like, all right, well, let's see how this is. I press the A button, and I have to wait, I kid you not, a full second. There is an entire second of input delay. Now, there is no way in hell you can play a game like Diddy Kong Racing on that much input delay. There is just no way. Try playing a fast-paced game like that. Like, if you have a capture card and you have something like Diddy Kong Racing or some other high-speed racing-like game, put it into your console, plug in your capture card, and try playing it through Amarek. Try going around these super sharp corners at high speeds. Trust me, it doesn't work. So I look at them and I'm just like, guys, there's no way that this is gonna work. I can't complete my run like this. I tried it the other day, and I got a time, like on Jungle Falls, my PB is a 37.99 now. I tried it the other day, just playing off of Amarek for fun, and I got a 55. I shit you not, I got a fucking 55 Jungle Falls. That's how bad it is. And that's not even a long course. Try something like Space Dust Alley, right? It gets exponentially worse. It is impossible. So we come up with ideas, right? What are we going to do? And ultimately, it comes back to their entire setup revolves around these two TVs that only support RGB and HDMI. And if you can't plug into these TVs, then they can't take the signal from the TVs, run it through their board, run it through the computer, and stream it. They just can't do it. So I'm like, okay, we clearly need something that we don't have here. So our best option is to go back to my place and grab my capture card, right? That's the most sensible thing to do. And they're like, okay, yeah, we don't really have a better option, let's do that. So Eddie's like, okay, I'll drive you home then. Where do you live? Right, so I tell him where I live, and he's like, alright. So he talks to the other tech people and the other people who are running reception, and he's like, we'll be back in like 30-40 minutes, okay? We have to go and get a capture card. So he drives me all the way back to my place, and we have to go through downtown. The best part about this is downtown is largely blocked off because there was some sort of massive food, I think, event going on in the middle of downtown. Yeah, plus the marathon. The marathon, thank you. The marathon was going on, but they also had this like place for food. Anyways, we had to deal with a fuck ton of delays because we were going right through the middle of downtown, and all the shit is blocked off, and we can't take the streets that we need to take, so it takes us an extra 10 minutes to get to my place. So I run in when we get here. I grab my capture card and I grab my splitters. That's all that I think I need, okay? This comes back later, trust me. So I grab my stuff. We leave, and we drive back to the venue. Driving back is a lot faster than it was to get here because we take a different route. No, I had my TV there. I had my TV there, don't worry guys. I had my TV there because I was practicing. We get back to the venue. I pull out my capture card, my splitters. We go to run everything, and then, oh yeah! Okay, so, sorry, let me compose myself. We get back to the venue, pull out my capture card, my splitters. I bring it over, and they're like, okay, how do you set this up? We've never set this up, none of us stream. I look at them and I'm just like, okay, so I guess I'm doing more tech support than the tech support guy. Cool. So I plug in my capture card, I plug in the N64, I get the splitters running, everything. And then I try to figure out how to go and add the video capture device via OBS, because I don't do that. I use Amarek to capture it, right? I go to capture it, and it doesn't appear as an option in OBS. And then I'm like, huh, that's strange. I don't remember this being a problem before. And Eddie turns to me and he's like, are there drivers that we need? And I'm like, oh fuck. I haven't dealt with the drivers for this thing in like 2 years. So, I go on my phone, and I try to remember the name of the guide that I was looking for. I'll go and find it for you guys now. Luckily, I am smart enough to bookmark this thing. I bookmarked this thing on my laptop a long time ago because it is super useful. So I type in the first 3 letters of that, the IoT, and it pops up, and I give a little pop off, right? Like, I was excited that I actually was smart enough for once in my life to have bookmarked something useful. So I pull it up, we download the drivers, I try to get it working, and it shows up as an option in OBS now. Great, that's fantastic, I thought this was the end of it. It's not the end of it. So we get audio, and the moment it detects the GV USB to, the audio, of course, by default, is at max. So it briefly blasts everyone's ears out. And I quickly turn it down, right? But sorry everyone, I'm sorry I blasted your ears out, I apologize. However, even though we have audio, we have no picture. There is no video coming through with this thing. And I'm just like, oh fuck, now what's going on? I mess around with all of the other settings that I can, and then I'm like, okay, how about I go and download Amarek? So in that guide that I linked, there's also the download for Amarek 3.10, which is the one that I use at home here, okay? I download that, I get it running, and it still won't pull the video from my capture card. I don't know why. To this day, like, even now, I have no idea why that didn't work. So we end up getting so fed up of it that Eddie says, how about we just go and grab your entire rig? And I'm like, yeah, that might be the best idea. So what we do is we wait half an hour. The Boston Pizza delivers all the pizzas that they were supposed to for dinner, right? Dinner was great. The pizza was a little greasy though. Probably not good for me. Yeah, Outlaw, I did do that. I did set the res and all that. So we eat. After we're done eating, I find Eddie. And he drives me all the way back to my place for a second time. And this time I grab my remaining gear. So I've got my laptop, my charger for my laptop, my mouse pad, my keyboard, my HDMI cable, just in case I need it for my my monitor. I think that's about it. I think that's all I grabbed. Yeah, but that's like the rest of my setup. I don't have a whole lot. Oh, and my headset. I grabbed my headset as well, just in case. So we drove back to the venue after grabbing all of that. And I set everything up at my little corner where I was before. Okay. And oh yes. Okay. So I go to set everything up, and then Eddie says it would probably just be best for you to stream on your channel instead of on the organization's Twitch channel, which was YesOrg, twitch.tv/YesOrg, YESSORG. So that's what we decide on. I set up my laptop. I've hooked everything up. I plug in the Ethernet cable, and then more fun happens. My laptop is not compatible with Ethernet. I don't know why. It only works with Wi-Fi though. I checked all of the, I checked my device manager, and there is nothing there about accepting LAN. Yeah, exactly. So I go to Eddie, and I'm just like, hey, you're gonna love me for this, but the Ethernet cables won't work with my laptop. And he just like starts hysterically laughing because he's just so dead at this point because of all the shit that we've had to go through. Right? And I say, do you know the password for any of the Wi-Fi around here? Any of the Wi-Fi connections around here? So he gives it a shot. We do eventually connect to one. And then he says, okay, let's do a speed test and see if this will be good enough. So we do the speed test. The ping is like 20 odd, right? That's not so bad. It's bearable. We get to the download, and it's like 5 megabits down, which is fucking nothing. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Download doesn't matter. I just have to worry about upload because I'm not going to be watching my own stream. Okay, it's going to be perfectly fine. We get to the upload. And I'm expecting it to be less than the download because that's normally what it is. Luckily, very luckily, the upload is 50 megabits per second, which is much better than the download was. So I set it up, and I do my test stream. And that's when some of you were able to go and tune in and see me, and you were able to see me stream, and I was just like, yeah, shit's just fucked right now, and blah blah blah, right? And I'm just busy laughing about things. So I have roughly an hour at this point, or yeah, roughly an hour to wait at this point after I've set up my stream until these other people are done running Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. I could tell you about them, but I think Glass Eye would do a better job telling you guys about them because I wasn't there. I was largely gone for all of their problems, but they ran into shit too. Anyways, I go and practice for the hour while I wait for them to finish. And once they finish, I'm told by Eddie and somebody else there that what they'll do is they'll go and host my channel and put it on the big screen, right? They had Shantae on the big screen, which was awesome, right? That's what I thought they were going to do originally anyways. So it's good to see them follow through on that. When I started, I'm still in the corner, number one, okay? Remember that. I'm still in the corner where, like, nobody can see me. 2, they don't put my stream on the big screen, right? They completely ignore me. One of the event staff tunes into my stream, that's it. 3, they start blasting, I believe it was some NHL game on the Xbox, right? They start blasting that over the speakers too. 4, half an hour into my run, they start the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tournament that they had already set up, right? They were going to wait until all the runs were done and all that so that everybody had their, like, chance in the spotlight. but like nobody watched me for the first 30 minutes. Nobody watched me after the fucking tournament started, except for everybody who watched online. So that was great. I went there for a whole lot of nothing, basically. I finished the run, which some of you saw. It was a 201 something something. I don't remember the seconds, but it was a low 201, which was good. That's good for me. And after I finished the run, I closed down the stream and all that. I start packing up my stuff, and nobody comes over to say anything to me. Okay? After, like, I've pretty much got everything packed up now. I just have to put my N64 away, my 2 controllers, that's it. And then finally, one of the event staff comes over, and she says, "Thank you very much for coming out, we really appreciate it, blah blah blah." Things like that, right? The typical event sort of stuff that you would want to hear from people because they're supposed to do it. I'm just like, oh yeah, no problem, right? I'm glad I could help you guys out, and it sucks that we had to deal with all of the technical difficulties, but so be it, right? Things happen the first time around. Right, after she's done talking, Eddie comes back over. He asks me what my time was. Clearly he didn't watch anything, which was upsetting, because he told me that he really wanted to watch all of the runs. Like, that was his major to-do at this event. I'm sure he had more shit to deal with, but it's still upsetting either way. And Eddie was nice enough to offer to drive me home after all of this, right? Because I told him that I'm not really interested in staying the entire time. I will get a migraine if I play video games for too long. It has happened. It has happened lots of times, so I don't want to stay for the full 24 hours. So he says, yeah, he'll drive me home, no problem, right? After making me bring out a lot more gear than I was expecting to in the first place, it was kind of only the right thing to do for him. Otherwise, I'd be carrying a backpack, a suitcase, and a handbag, all with my equipment home. Which sucked. Or which would have sucked. The walk there sucked, because the bus dropped me off in the middle of nowhere. But anyways, yeah, he drove me home 3 times. And on the 3rd time, right, like, I was just trying to be nice. So I told him, like, you know, if you guys ever do this again, like, let me know. I'll more than happy to help out, right? I want to see events around my city grow, right? Eddie was largely the person coordinating this event, though he doesn't have much about, he doesn't have much knowledge about the technical stuff, so. And he says, yeah, they would love to have me back and all that. Right, and hopefully next time it goes a lot better. It sucks that it was really rough this first time around. And yeah, it really did suck that it was super rough this first time around. Right, I'm rather upset about how it turned out, but there's nothing I can do about it, really. They just weren't prepared for anything that wasn't HDMI, which is completely their fault, not mine. Yeah, 14.5k or so, but they've been doing the fundraiser for like over a month or something. I don't understand how they've made that much. Oh yeah, I'm sure that they'll be more prepared for next time. At least I hope so. Eddie was telling me that next time they're going to have a dedicated room for streaming, and they're going to make sure everything is there and set up for next time and all that, so that'll be nice. Or at least it'll be nicer than it was this time. I can't see it being worse. But anyways, that's my story. That is how my event run, my marathon run, ended up being hosted on my channel instead of their channel, and why I'm so upset about this whole fucking thing. So, yeah, it was a wild ride. That's all I can say. Yeah, it was crazy. Oh, yeah. So their channel, I didn't mention this yet, but their channel They didn't even have a title on their Twitch stream, number one. They didn't have their game set, number two. They aren't in a community, nothing. Their channel was impossible to find. You can't do that, right? That is a major no-no, especially for an event. Like, whoever they had doing all the tech stuff clearly was not well-versed in anything that they had to do. Yeah, the tech guy never had the chat open. I believe for the two runners that were up before me, or I guess the one runner and the commentator had the chat open and was answering questions. He was doing a good job of it. But the only way that people even found their stream was through a tweet that they put out. It was awful. Totally just poorly set up in every regard. So I really do hope that they figure some stuff out for next time. No, don't worry about it, Glass Eye. You have to go through shit in order to have bigger events around here, so be it. Next time I'm hoping it'll be a lot better. And to be fair, I don't think next time it could be much worse, so it has to be better. Yeah, Eddie is a super cool dude, right? Love Eddie. He's great. Yeah. I mean, they didn't even provide TVs for practicing on. You had to bring all of your own gear if you wanted to play, which was a little strange, but so be it. I should keep track of all this and send them some suggestions. I could send them an essay. Yeah. See, that's another thing that I can touch on. This isn't related to what happened yesterday, but the entire... I emailed them back in July. I think it was like July 9th? July 8th or 9th, somewhere around there. I sent Doug an email, right, saying, these are my runs, I'm interested in the event, these are my estimates, yada yada. I didn't even hear back until the 25th, whatever that works out to be. That's like 2 weeks or something later, right? Like, that's a long time later. And they didn't even give me a straight answer of what they wanted. They're just like, oh, great to hear that you're interested. We would love to have you here. I'll hook you up to our event chair and yada yada. Okay, the event chair, of course, is Eddie. And the best part is Eddie did email me back a couple days after I had received that email from Doug, but I didn't see it because it ended up in my spam folder. Thank you, Gmail. Gmail is fantastic. So, check your spam folder every day when you are expecting an important email, kids. Please, please do. So that was fun. And then, of course, I'm sure people are more aware of this part, but I was never told that I had to do a second run. They put it up on the site under their event timeline that I would be doing a second run with the game to be announced. But they never told me about it. I had to send them an email. And basically I just got back an email saying, oh yeah, I meant to talk to you about that sooner. Sorry about that. You're good to run whatever you would like, just let us know. Thank you. Thank you for being prepared. Thank you for telling me everything ahead of time. Really great to be working with you guys. So, that was my experience. I've never played Fallout 2, Outlaw. ever. You're a speedrunner, should be simple. You know, if you give me a console and say a month, yeah, I could probably figure something out. I see no problem with that. Not a fucking day, though. Should've ran Bubsy. God damn it, dude. That'll never get old. Quartz, yeah, of course. Nah, it's fine though. Honestly, I didn't have any expectations going into this, so I was like ready for whatever to happen. And the moment shit started hitting the fan, all I could do was laugh. Because there was no reason to get upset about anything when I can just laugh all of this shit off instead of getting mad and tilting myself before the run. So in that regard, I'm glad that I have that kind of philosophy, I guess. Yo, feels Babos, man. So I think that about covers it now. And Glass Eye explained that the other two guys running Shantae, like, they soft-locked the game 5 minutes into their run. Right, and the stream died twice while me and Eddie were out, so that's great. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that covers everything now. Unless you want to hear about my real life, other fucking bullshit as well, which I don't really... I don't mind. I can explain it if you guys want. Yeah, great experience, 10 out of 10. I wouldn't say I'll never do it again. As long as it's better next time and it's not set up like shit, yeah, I'll do it.